saw its playoff push take a dent this past weekend, losing not only the first of 3 road games, but also 1 to 2 players for the immediate short term. Hello everybody, you are listening to Miami Total Football Radio once again, and yes, that is the number 1 and most listened to Inter Miami podcast, providing you all the latest team news, updates, analysis, opinions, inside information, general punditry, and mucho más, aka much more. We also go by the name of Miami Total Football Radio. And we have been listened to in more than 50 countries and counting. Maybe just to hear that type of pronunciation. Maybe not. But my name is Franco Panizo. I'm one of your usual co-hosts. None of the other usual co-hosts are in attendance for the first of 2 pods this week. And that's because they all have different things to tend to early on this week. Obviously here we're recording on Monday. So no Jose, no Andrea, and no Steve Brenner, who is still AWOL, still missing. But they'll be back soon. And listen, if you're here for the Catracho love, if you're here for the Honduran love, then no worries at all, because we have a Honduran in the house who regularly covers Inter Miami. He's a regular in that press box that we sit in and that we debate in quite often, especially during rain delays. I am, of course, talking about Miguel Paz, a.k.a., literal translation, Michael Peace. Second time on the podcast. Miguel, how are you doing today?
Hey, man. Second time here. Thank you for having me. I think you have something with Honduran people here in the podcast. You know, you love having us here. We're good. So, yeah, man. I'm glad to be here. Excited to talk about Inter Miami. And, yeah, ready.
This is your second pod. This is your second appearance on the pod. So I expect a much better performance. Not that the first one was bad, but I expect a better performance because you're not the rookie guest anymore. Now you're a sophomore. You gotta up the ante. Since, you know, we tend to have debates, you and I and a few others in the press box about, you know, Robbie Robinson from his first year to his second year to his third year. You know, you're in your second pod appearance, so we need you to raise that level. But we are going to talk with Miguel about Inter Miami's 3-1 loss to the New York Red Bulls this past weekend. It came with a red card to Alejandro Pozuelo. We will also preview this Wednesday's big matchup against the Columbus Crew. So, we've got quite a bit to talk about. Since we have 2 pods this week, we're going to try to shorten these, condense these, make them a little tighter. So, we've got a lot to talk about. Going to try to do it in a little less time. So, Miguel, let's get to it. Okay, everybody, so as I just mentioned a little while ago, Inter Miami suffered a defeat, a 3-1 loss to the New York Red Bulls at Red Bull Arena on Saturday night at Red Bull Arena in Harrison, New Jersey. That defeat snapped a 5-game unbeaten run for Inter Miami. This was the starting lineup for the South Florida side. Drake Callender in goal. Your back 4 were DeAndre Yedlin, Damian Lowe, Christopher McVeigh, Kieran Gibbs. The first line of the midfield, Gregory and Jean Mota. The second line of the midfield, Indiana Vasilev, Alejandro Pozuelo, Ariel Lassiter, and up top, Gonzalo Iguain. Now, Inter Miami gets on the board first in this one. They took a lead once again, and they did so with a Gonzalo Iguain free kick. A potent, venomous, stinging free kick from left off center to the top right corner, upper 90, al ángulo. Spectacular goal from him. It's up for goal of the week. It's not been named goal of the week, but it is up for goal of the week. But in a game in which a big red card decision went against Inter Miami, a lot of former Inter Miami players also helped to cause the South Florida side's demise. Lewis Morgan, the former Inter Miami winger, scores the equalizer in the 43rd minute. Daniel Edelman in the 53rd minute scores the go-ahead goal. And then in the 74th, Caden Clark scores an insurance tally off of a headed assist from former Inter Miami fullback Dylan Nealis. Now, there was another former Inter Miami player involved in a big moment in this game, and that was Andres Reyes, the center back that played for Inter Miami in 2020. And He started in this one, and he took a high boot to the chest, torso area in the 29th minute. And that led to a red card for Alejandro Pozuelo. Initially, it was a yellow from head referee Fotas Bosaco, so it looked like it was going to be a yellow. He pulled out the yellow card, but then it went to VAR, and when Basacos looked at it, he whipped out the red. Pozuelo off for an early shower. That means he misses Wednesday's game, which is a big loss. And obviously, Inter Miami was down to 10 men. Now, it must be noted, the Red Bulls also went down to 10 men in the 70th minute. Kyle Duncan was issued a second yellow card. That gave Inter Miami a glimmer of hope that they could, on even terms, maybe find an equalizer. But again, that was short-lived because Clark scores the third goal for the Red Bulls 4 minutes later, and that effectively put Inter Miami out of it, although they did create some chances late on. Miguel, you watched the game. What did you think overall about this match from Inter Miami?
Well, Franco, there was 2 games inside one game. One was before the red card, and one was after the red card. The first 15 minutes of Inter Miami, I think they were really top performance from like Inter Miami, top minutes for Inter Miami. They even had several occasions to go up and score more than one goal. Let's remember that Iguain shot like around like the 5th minute at the beginning of the game. Lassiter as well, the 1-on-1 against the keeper. Then the goal came, which I don't know if this is the exact same goal that Iguain scored, the first goal that he scored for Inter Miami. I don't know if you remember that one goal.
Yeah. I tweeted that it was very similar to the first goal that he scored for Inter Miami off of a free kick at Red Bull Arena against the New York Red Bulls, but it came on the other side of the field. But it was very similar in that it was off center to the left, and he smashed it to the far post. So it was very similar. Also very similar to the goal he scored against FC Cincinnati earlier this year. So yes, it's definitely one of his staples, at least as far as his Inter Miami stint or his Inter Miami tenure has gone. Those free kicks, potent free kicks to the top corner. So definitely something he can turn to, something he has in his game. It's not just a one-off. We've seen it at least 3 times now. So yeah, I agree. It was a heck of a goal, and I agree with you fully that Inter Miami looked really, really good. Really, really good up until the red card. There was times when they were knocking the ball around with quick 1 to 2 touch passing that I thought was pretty impressive from the South Florida side, especially against the Red Bulls team that was at home. That was the 4th place team in the Eastern Conference heading into the game, that is known for high pressing and being difficult to play against. Inter Miami played through them, around them, and they played a smart game, and you could see the confidence they were playing with. Damian Lowe on one sequence, instead of hoofing the ball upfield, which would have been easy to do under pressure, he takes a cut inside and gets by I don't know if it was Lewis Morgan. I'm trying to remember who was pressing him, but he gets by him, and then he keeps the sequence going, the build-up going by passing it instead of launching the ball forward and raffling it for a 50-50. So great start for Inter Miami in this one. They did have some chances, like you mentioned, the Lassiter one. He rushed his shot and obviously wasn't on his preferred foot, but he should have put that one away. Iguain's redirect of a Jean Mota shot, you could say that could have been a goal, but I think it's more of a half chance than anything.
But I mean, it was a clear chance as well to score. I don't know if Iguain would have let the ball go, probably would have been a goal, or the keeper would have saved that.
Carlo Coronel maybe gets. That's what I'm saying. It seems like a half chance to me because the keeper may have made the save. And Iguain tries to redirect it. It's not the easiest, even though he's in close. It's not the easiest from where he was standing. His position way to the left, towards the near post. Hard for him to redirect that on frame, although it's possible. It's possible. We've seen players do it, whether with a flick or just a hard, planted right foot. But he wasn't able to turn it or get his body around it enough to get it on frame. So neither of those go in, but he does score off the free kick, so Inter Miami takes the lead. They jump out in front. Then Pozuelo's red card happens in the 29th minute, 10 minutes after Iguain scores. And I want to hear your thoughts. We haven't really talked about it, you and I, directly. Curious to hear your thoughts on if you think it was worthy of a red, if you think it should have stayed a yellow, because again, Bosaco's never handed Pozuelo a yellow, at least not from what we could see on the broadcast, but he took the yellow out of his pocket, so it looked like he was going to give Pozuelo a yellow before changing his mind on VAR. I have friends and I have family that have very adamantly said it should have been a yellow card. What do you think,
Should have been a
Miguel?
yellow card.
What do you think?
I mean, my first reaction was, damn, that's a red card. Like my first reaction, like live, like from not even watching a replay, I was like, yeah, that's a red card right there. Obviously, there's no intention from Pozuelo, but even I feel like Neville said it during the press conference. It is a red card if you see it. His leg was way up there, straight to his chest, I believe. Cleats right to his chest. So yeah, it's a red card. I do understand the people are saying it's not a yellow card because obviously there's no intention.
No, you say people that are saying it is a yellow card or that's not a yellow card.
No, for me, it's a red card.
No, right. But you said you understand people that are saying it's not a yellow card, or people that are saying it is a yellow card.
No, I understand people are saying that is a yellow card because of the intention. Yes.
Okay, no, sorry, because you said you understand people that are saying it's not a yellow card, so I just wanted to clarify.
No, it's the other way around. I understand people are saying that it's a yellow card because obviously Pozuelo does not have an intention to hurt the player or like go straight with his cleats.
Right. I had a very heated debate with a family member in the aftermath of this game because that was their argument that there was no intention or bad intention from Pozuelo to do that. And while I understand that argument and I understand that point, and I agree full-heartedly with Phil Neville, as well as with my family member, that Pozuelo had no intention to stick his cleats into Andres Reyes' chest or torso, I still think now, and I thought immediately during the game, that it was a red card. Because you can't just put your studs that high up and hit somebody in the chest or in the torso, however you want to label it, and get away with that. I mean, it's not really a soccer or a football move. Otherwise, we would see that all the time. We would see boots into the chest or boots into the torsos all the time. And look, if it was a shorter player, obviously Andres Reyes has some height to him. If it was a shorter player, could have got him in the face. And then, is it a red card because you get him in the face and not the chest? I mean, so I think it's a red card. It's unfortunate because he is trying to play the ball. He is trying to bring it down. And you do see it from time to time. You see players try to come down with acrobatic ways to trap the ball and control it. So it's not, it's an unseen move, but you can't have the studs that high up and show it like that. It's a dangerous play. Exactly, and it's not, like you said,
una jugada peligrosa.
Claro, pero no es malintencionada, solamente que es un poco torpe. It's not malintentioned. It's just a little clumsy and a little bit careless, and you can get a red card for being clumsy and careless. You don't necessarily have to be violent or have a bad intention to get a red card. And I thought the red card was deserved. Now, Phil Neville, after the game, you touched on some of his comments. He said it was a deserved red card. He said he wasn't frustrated that wasn't what he was frustrated about when he talked about his frustration post-game. But I didn't really buy that. Did you buy that explanation from him? Because like throughout, you could sense he was frustrated. But there was like little bits and pieces of things that he said where, like, to me, it comes off as like, yes, he was really frustrated with that refereeing decision. But he's so impotent against bad refereeing decisions after seeing them happen that he just feels helpless. Like there's nothing he can do about it, and he doesn't want to complain publicly because he knows how that comes off. But he also knows he can get fined. But at the same time, it is something that irks him. And Phil Neville's a pretty straight shooter, so I felt like he was conflicted there and trying to say yes, but no, but yes, because he talks about
the referee as well when he said, "Oh, if I talk to Howard Webb tomorrow, he's gonna be blah blah blah."
Exactly. He said, "If I call Howard Webb on Monday and I talk to him about this play, well, Howard Webb will probably be like, well, Phil, blah 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 blah, and nothing will happen. So there's no point." That was me paraphrasing what Phil Neville said there, as you did as well. So clearly, he's frustrated. Clearly, he may not have said this, but there's no denying, and I said it when I asked the question post game. It was the turning point in the match. And you said it perfectly. Sure. You said it perfectly. There was a game before the red card and a game after the red card. Because after the red card, Inter Miami became very defensive-minded, obviously, with understanding it. They have one less man away from home. They became more defensive-minded. And the Red Bulls then became more aggressive. They started, dictating the tempo more. They started to get more of the ball. They started to knock it around. They were finding spaces better. There was definitely a change after that red card. And the Red Bulls, I don't think they were that sharp, even though they had more of the ball, even though Inter Miami lost its control after Pozuelo was sent off. I didn't think the Red Bulls looked all that good or all that great with the ball until
Especially in the first half,
but until those final few minutes of the first half, where they started to find more of a rhythm, and then Lewis Morgan comes up with the goal in the 43rd. If he doesn't come up with that goal and Inter Miami takes a 1-0 lead into the halftime break, maybe the result isn't a defeat. Maybe they come out of this one with a draw. But they gave up a goal in the 43rd minute, and that put them in a bad spot, because then the Red Bulls had more confidence. They came out of the half in front of their home crowd, which looked pretty decent. With waves and waves of attacks. It didn't take them all that long, to 8 minutes into the second stanza, to score again. So, at that point, Inter Miami's under it. Again, Duncan gets a red card in the 70th. Inter Miami, at that point could be like, all right, well, maybe we can get our way back into this when it's 10 against 10. We're on even terms, or they're on a level playing field, or on even terms. But that's not the case. Caden Clark scores a nice goal, chests it down, and kicks the ball into the near post past the Drake Callender. 3-1. Inter Miami didn't really have much after that. Damian Lowe had 2 chances late on when he was occupying the striker role. He was playing more of a striker at the end of the game. One is a header, went right into the hands of Red Bulls goalkeeper Carlo Coronel. And then on a one-on-one look, Damian Lowe on a one-on-one look. Never thought I'd see that in my life, but Damian
really surprised me.
Yeah, he was through on goal, one-on-one, like a striker. But he doesn't have the quality, or he didn't have the composure to finish that opportunity against Coronel. Coronel makes an relatively easy kick save, despite it being one-on-one. And look, I know some people were like, oh, how does Damian Lowe miss that? I think even Phil Neville after the game said it was like, he thought it was a clear-cut chance that Inter Miami should have put away. I don't expect a center back to put that away more often than not. If they can, if Damian Lowe would have put that away, if he would have chipped it or finished it to the far post, or if he would have just put that in the back of the net, kudos to him for having that ability to do so as a center back who doesn't normally take shots in a game, who doesn't feel that type of play, or that doesn't have that type of incident happen very often for him, right? If at all. So I don't expect him to put that away. I don't. So I can't criticize him for not putting it away, because it'd be like saying, oh, well, you need a striker to be able to win one-on-one battles against a very pacey winger. Like, it's not his strength. It's not what he does. And yes, he's a professional player, yada, 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 but he's a center back. His strengths are in the defense, not in the attack. He's not Sergio Ramos. He's not, so I couldn't expect him to put that away. Even if he does, it's 3-2, and there's probably 60 seconds left in the game at most. So
around the end of the game, Emerson 1-on-1 with the goalkeeper. Emerson is not the best finisher, but he should be able to score that.
But that second half, Inter Miami didn't have a whole lot, because they were down a man for 25 minutes in that second half, or more than 25 minutes. They were down for 25 minutes. Sorry, 25 minutes. Yeah, so for more than half of the second half, they were playing with a numerical disadvantage, and they were defending, because the halftime substitutions that Phil Neville made in this one were Ryan Saylor for Kieran Gibbs. That meant that Christopher McVeigh went out to the left-back spot, and Emerson Rodriguez, who you just mentioned, for Gonzalo Iguain up top. Now, we found out after the game that Gonzalo Iguain suffered an injury, and that's why he was removed. Initially, I thought it was due to tactical reasons. I thought, Iguain, without Pozuelo, playing as just a striker, when Inter Miami's down to 10 men, I didn't think that played to his strengths. Because when Iguain doesn't have a 10, whether it's with 11 players or 10 players on the field, he tends to struggle a bit more, because now there's nobody that can facilitate for him. There's no one that can get him the ball. And in this game, without Pozuelo, Inter Miami started hoofing long balls after the red card. They just started pumping long balls up to Iguain. Iguain, even though it looks like he's in better shape now, even though he's got a better mindset and mentality now, from what we can see on the outside, or from what it looks like for those of us on the outside, he's still not his best when his back is to goal, and when he has to fight, physical center backs, and he has to try to do hold-up play. It's not really his bread and butter. It's not what he's best at, and he struggled with that against the very physical Aaron Long. Now, again, apparently he took a knock to the calf, and that forced his substitution. I thought it was more tactical. Emerson Rodriguez up top, looking for speed on the counter. Iguain doesn't provide that, so speed on the counter when you're going to be replegando, when you're going to be retreating and obviously defending and parking the bus almost to try to at least get a result, a 1-1 result, if not a goal on in transition or goal on the counter to try to get 3. So I thought that was the move, but apparently Iguain did suffer an injury. He's a question mark for Wednesday. Now,
Franco, before switching up to, of course, after the red card, everyone knew the game for Iguain was almost over because he knew Inter Miami was going to go back and throw long ball. And obviously, Iguain is not the type of player anymore.
Right.
So why would Phil not take Iguain out in the first half, knowing that the game was over for Gonzalo Iguain? Unless he had one clear chance, he was not going to do barely anything in the game.
Well, so listen, I won't criticize Phil Neville for that. I get your point, and I agree that Gonzalo Iguain, like I just said, without a 10, without a facilitator playmaking behind him, he's less effective, especially if he's forced to play with his back to goal as he was after Pozuelo was sent off. But I think Phil Neville was just feeling the game out, trying to see how the game would unfold 11 on 10, and then at halftime make the necessary adjustments. So, if you want to criticize him, you could say Inter Miami lost 15 minutes there and not subbing Iguain off immediately, but I don't have a problem with Phil Neville feeling the game out and seeing how it worked. Now, obviously, when you see that you're pumping long balls forward, your team's only pumping long balls forward, and they can no longer keep possession and have the successful build-up and the build-out that they had before the ejection, well, then obviously then you can make some halftime alterations, which, again, they were made by Phil Neville. Red Bull still proved to be too much for the Herons. So,
these type of games, I'm sorry I'm going back to this player, but Robbie Robinson will be perfect.
Oh, here we go. Look.
Wait.
I gotta share this with the listeners because they're not gonna understand why I just had that reaction. So, Miguel and I, as well as Andrea and Jose, Michelle Coffin of the Miami Herald, who, by the way, very thankful that she allowed me to fill in for her. She's on vacation, so I was
great article, by the way.
Oh, I appreciate that, Miguel. Very nice of you. This is why they call you Michael Peace. So nice and pleasant. No, look, we've had, and Michelle's going to let me actually, by the way, for you listeners, also cover for her on Wednesday at the Miami Herald because she's still going to be on vacation. So thank you to Michelle Coffin. Shout out to her. I hope she's having a great time, a wonderful time on her vacation, which I know she is actually because we WhatsApped earlier today. But anyway. Back to Robbie Robinson. Miguel and I and a few other colleagues have debated multiple times, especially when there's weather delays at DraftKings Stadium, over Robbie Robinson. It's a topic that comes up quite often because, I think Miguel and a few others know how I feel about Robbie Robinson as a player and his career trajectory to this point. Whereas Miguel and others still think Robbie Robinson has a lot of potential if he can stay healthy. I don't agree with that, but we tend to have these strong debates, especially while we're waiting for the weather to clear up, about Robbie Robinson. So obviously now that Miguel says Robbie Robinson would have been perfect for this type of game, well, that's why I said here we go, because I don't agree with that necessarily. But Robbie Robinson is out for the rest of the season, or at least that's what we expect. So it's a moot point. So I won't even argue with it or debate that because, I don't agree with it, but there's no point to debate it because Robbie Robinson is not healthy. So, Inter Miami...
a point.
Of course, you have to give your Robbie Robinson love. You have to try to see if you can reel me in for the debate. I'm not going to let you reel me in, Miguel Peace. I'm not going to let you do it. So anyway, all right, let's put a bow on this game by talking about the fact that three former Inter Miami players, played a part in Inter Miami's demise. Again, Andres Reyes takes the cleats to the chest, red card. Lewis Morgan scores the equalizer. Dylan Nealis gets the headed assist on the third goal. So, what do you think about that? That was an interesting wrinkle, an interesting subplot for me in this one because former Inter Miami players. All three of the former Inter Miami players that are on the Red Bulls roster, they impacted the game in some way, shape, or form against their former side.
Franco, what do you think about players celebrating goals against their previous team.
I have no problem with that. And Lewis Morgan did celebrate his goal, a low left-footed effort to the far post past Drake Callender, who I thought in this game did not cover himself in glory. I thought he should have done better, certainly on the equalizing goal and even on the third goal as well. But I have no problem, to answer your question, with players celebrating against their former teams. It's completely up to them. I also understand and respect if you decide you don't want to do that because it's a sign of respect. But if you want to celebrate it, I have no issue with that. And Lewis Morgan, let's to be fair to Lewis Morgan didn't celebrate it like euphorically and go wild or anything that could have really ruffled some Inter Miami feathers. He did the Breck Shea celebration where he put the L over his face. And I don't know if that's a sign because they were good friends when they were teammates last year and the year prior, or if because, Breck Shea's injured and going through, his long-standing injury issues that Lewis Morgan did that. Obviously, we haven't seen...
Or a message to the front office or coach, you guys took an L by signing me or not having me on the team? I don't know.
I don't think so. Listen.
You don't think so?
This is pure speculation on my part, pure speculation for the listeners and for you. This is not inside information, but Breck Shea's been injured for a good bit this year. For a good bit. We have not seen him for a long time. There was one point where he was on the bench, but now he's not on the bench again. And we haven't gotten an injury update, but Breck Shea has had injury issues over the last few years, whether they're of the varying sort or not. Maybe he's at the point. Maybe, again, supposition, not information. Supposition. Maybe he's at the point. It's a possibility for why Lewis Morgan might have done his celebration. Maybe he's at the point where retirement is being contemplated. Maybe. And maybe Lewis Morgan did that as like a nod to a friend and a former teammate. Maybe. I don't think it was a shot. I didn't take it, and I didn't see in Lewis Morgan's face anger. Like I didn't take it. Maybe I'm wrong, but I didn't take it as him taking a shot at Inter Miami. I just saw him just kind of paying tribute or a nod to a former teammate. So
makes sense.
As for two players who did not start in this game that did come off the bench as well were Robert Taylor and Bryce Duke. Now, very quickly to wrap up this game. Actually, I have two questions for you, but one of the talking points here. Initially, Ryan Taylor and again Emerson Rodriguez come in, and the idea was to defend and protect the 1-1, right? Try to salvage a draw. That's what Phil Neville looked like he was going for. The goal comes early, so then things change, right? The lineup or the personnel, changes because at that point, then Phil Neville goes from having Vasilev and Lassiter on the wings to deploying Taylor and Corentin Jean, who have a little bit more football and are a little bit more technical. But that didn't work. And then later on, we see Bryce Duke come on. So the players that had football in this one, they were saved. I mean, they weren't saved. They didn't get the start. And we can't criticize Inter Miami or Phil Neville for that because they played well without them. They still showed good things. But without them on the field and 10 players, it's I think it's understandable, and that's the reasoning why we saw Inter Miami just pump long ball after long ball, because they essentially now had they had very few players on the field that tienen buen pie, that are good with their feet, that are very good with their feet, that are technical players, that have a lot of soccer to them, a lot of football, clean touch, clean passes, that have that type of understanding and that type of game to them. Lassiter and Vasilev are more of the physical variety. Lassiter is very very speedy. Vasilev is a workhorse who has some quickness to him. So once they lost Pozuelo, given that they didn't have those aforementioned players on the field to start, Taylor, Duke, and Corentin Jean to an extent, that they didn't have much technically to be able to keep the ball for large stretches, which is why I think you saw them pump ball after ball to Iguain, and obviously that wasn't a recipe for success. So Anyway, let's move forward. Actually, no, the last question I had for you, I almost forgot. What do you think of Drake Calendar's performance in this one? Do you agree with me that he should have done better on a few of the goals there?
Okay, so yeah, actually, I wanted to come back to when we were talking about the first goal from the New York Red Bulls about Drake Calendar. He had a lot to do with that goal. I think he should have saved that. I believe the ball went under his hand.
Yeah.
He was a little bit soft there with his arm. And then the other two goals, I have no problems. And I've been seeing this a lot from Drake Calendar. Coming out for the ball, he's having a little bit of issues. So yeah, we'll see what Phil Neville decides to do. I think he's gonna keep him. Obviously, the season is about to end, so there's no point of switching him now. But yeah, the first goal definitely Calendar should have done better.
And you see it on the first goal how frustrated he is with himself because he pounds the ground a few times afterwards because he got a hand on it and he got a hand on it and he should have done better there. He should have parried it. He should have had a firmer hand, a stronger hand. Easy to say from the outside, but clearly you can tell by his reaction he knows that is a chance he could save. So yeah, definitely a mistake on his part. Look, and on the second goal, there's nothing he can do about that. Inter Miami as a whole on that sequence was very passive in my opinion. I believe Indiana Vassilev twice, instead of clearing the ball or getting it out of danger, he loses the ball or clears it very poorly. Then the Red Bulls are able to reset. Kyle Duncan whips in a cross. It's cleared by Damian Lowe. Gregory then, I don't know if it was the passiveness.
He was sleeping there.
But right, I don't know if it was the passiveness of Vassilev or the entire team. I don't want to just blame Vassilev, but it is, when you see a teammate playing well, it can be contagious. And when you see a teammate playing poorly, it can be contagious. That feeling on the field. So Gregory on that sequence, very rare from him. Very rare from him. He waits for the ball to come to him instead of attacking the ball to clear it, and that allows Edelman to jump in front of him and then take it on the half volley and smash it to the bottom left corner or Drake Calendar's right side. And Drake Calendar could do nothing about that. That's a little bit more on Gregory in his inability to react better there. Now the third goal, to wrap up, again a headed pass from Dylan Nealis to Caden Clark, and he smashes it again to the near post. Again, I'm of the belief, and I've said this since one of the early pods when it was Eric Krakauer and I, el arquero tiene que tener su primer palo. Siempre tiene que cubrir su primer palo. The goalkeeper has to cover his first post. Like the near post, that's the one he has to cover. It's harder for an attacker to direct a shot across his body to the far post than it is to the near post, just by sheer distance and by sheer physics, generally speaking. So the rule of thumb is cover your near post, and hey, if they beat you to the far post, then so be it. But you give yourself the best chance to avoid a goal. And in this one, Caden Clark brings it down. He's left onside by Christopher McVeigh, who didn't get in line with the defense. Again, Christopher McVeigh went from center back to left back in this game. Maybe that played a part in it, maybe not. But Christopher McVeigh gets caught napping for a split second, and then Caden Clark, again, very technically brings down the ball with his chest and in a smooth motion, powers it past Calendar. But Calendar should have done better because the shot came to his near post. It was another shot that is savable. Yes, it's potent. Yes, it's has a lot of power behind it, but I still think Drake Calendar should have done better there. And if you've listened to the pod for the last several weeks, you've heard me in the last several months, you've heard Andrea and Jose debate with me very strongly that Nick Marsman should be back in goal. I have said that I think Drake Calendar is the number one. That said, in this game, he could have done better on two of the goals. Absolutely. But anyway.
Yeah, I mean, I agree with you. He should be the number one. There's no point of switching him now at this point of the season.
But who do you think's a better goalkeeper?
I think it's going to make it worse.
Who do you think's a better goalkeeper out of the two? Do you agree with your Catrachos? Do you agree with Andrea and Jose that you think Nick Marsman's the better of the two goalkeepers?
They're different goalkeepers.
They're different, but who's better?
I mean, it's a tough question, to be honest. It's 50-50 for me. But I'll go with Drake Calendar, to be honest.
Why?
I mean, the season he had this year, he's definitely saved Inter Miami several occasions so far. I think he's pretty good with his hands. A couple of games he has been a little bit off. I believe Marsman is way better with his feet. That's the only issue I have with Drake Calendar. with his feet, the ball with his feet.
Right, he's not as good technically and not as good of a passer as Nick Marsman is. Absolutely. So,
Yeah, I mean, Nick has been playing in Europe for a couple of years, so
I mean, that doesn't necessarily mean just because you played in Europe for more years that you're going to be a better passer, better technically. I mean, he's Dutch, so you could say that. But I don't know if just because you're in Europe, you're necessarily automatically better with your feet. I think, look, Drake Callender, I've said it before, he's a better shot stopper.
They play more with the. Yes, continue.
No, he's a better shot stopper. He's better at coming off his line to collect crosses. Now, is he as experienced? No. Is he maybe as vocal as Nick Marsman is? No. And again, he's not technically anywhere near as good as Nick Marsman. But I think, look, to be fair, I think it's been a while since we've seen one of those games where you could say Drake Callender saved Inter Miami. It's been a little while now. I don't recall a game lately that I've been like, okay, Drake Callender was one of the top performers. And, maybe that speaks to the job the attack is doing.
Ethan has been playing really good lately, but they definitely, Inter Miami got to score almost every game, so...
Well, right, because they've opened themselves up a bit. They're attacking now. They're taking more and more chances, taking more risks. That leaves spaces in behind, so the other teams will have more opportunity. But I don't recall a game recently where I was like, okay, Drake Callender saved Inter Miami's blushes. But look, something else to add to his characteristics. I think he's a better, he's better with his hands in general. He catches the ball a lot more, and I think he's a little bit more sound in that way, or gives you más seguridad, more security in that way. I think I've even seen some Inter Miami players comment on Drake Callender's Instagram account like seguridad, aka that translates to security.
Yeah.
So anyway, all right, let's switch gears to Wednesday's game. It's a big one. Inter Miami remains in 6th place in the Eastern Conference. This past weekend's defeat didn't do anything in terms of their position in the table, but they are now only 1 point above Cincinnati, which is in 8th place. Columbus right now is in 7th. So they trail Inter Miami by 1. I might have just made that confusing. Let me clear that up. Sorry. Inter Miami is in 6th place with 36 points from 27 games. Columbus Crew, who they play on Wednesday in Columbus, has played 26 games, so they have a game in hand on Inter Miami, and they are even on points with Inter Miami. They have 36. In 8th place right now is FC Cincinnati, which has played 27 games, just like Inter Miami, but they're on 35 points. They have 1 point less than the South Florida side. After that, New England's in 9th with 34 points. Toronto is in 10th with 33. Atlanta in 11th with 33. Charlotte in 12th with 32. So, from 6th place, which is 36 points from Inter Miami, to 12th, which is held by Charlotte, there's a 4-point difference, a 4-point gap. So it's still very tight, and Wednesday's game will be pretty big because it has major playoff implications. Columbus will be at home. Columbus with a win would help better solidify its place in the playoffs, although there's still a lot of twists and turns to go in these remaining 7-8 games for these teams. So, Miguel, what does Inter Miami have to do on Wednesday night to get a result? And is a draw, in your opinion, good enough for them on Wednesday?
I think a draw is a win for Inter Miami. No, especially this team is horrible away, by the way. I'm sorry I don't know the record, but I think the only time they won the previous 10 games is against San Jose. Is either they lose the game or they draw. This team is not that good away. They didn't even perform the same way they played at home, obviously. But yeah, they don't score as well away from home, so that's an issue. And yeah, I believe a draw is a pretty good result for Inter Miami, especially against Columbus and El Cucho Hernandez, up front.
So, Inter Miami has not been that good from home, right? They have a 2-win, 3-draw, 8-loss record up until this point. It's their home form that's really been good. 8 wins, 3 draws, 3 losses. So, yes, they have not been great away from home. And Phil Neville said that and has said that in recent weeks. He reiterated it on Saturday night in his post-game press conference that their away form will likely determine if they make the playoffs or not, because more of the remaining games on the schedule are away from Drive Pink Stadium. I think there's only 3 left at Drive Pink Stadium now. There's 4 away from home. It was 5 before this Red Bulls game. So, This is a big one for Inter Miami. And I agree with you that I think a draw is enough for them.
Yeah.
Because
especially without Pozuelo.
Exactly. Especially
And
without
Iguain.
Pozuelo. I don't know if Higuain's ruled out. I know Phil Neville on Saturday night said, he's a doubt. He's very likely to miss the game because he took a studs to the calf, but he didn't rule him out completely. And again,
But Iguain, so let's say he plays, Iguain's not going to be 100% though, right?
he won't be 100%, and he won't have Pozuelo, which has been a massive part in his resurgence as an impact player for Inter Miami this year. So, yes, if you don't have Pozuelo in there, I think it's a blow, and I think a draw would be a good result for the team. I agree with you. Now, who replaces Pozuelo? How do you replace Pozuelo in the lineup? How do you go about it, Miguel? Or actually, before you tell me that, how do you think Phil Neville goes about it? How do you see Phil Neville replacing Pozuelo? Because there's no true number 10 on the bench.
team.
So
Yeah.
So how do you go about it? Do you think he goes attack minded and brings in Bryce Duke? Do you think he just plays without a 10 and goes a little bit more defensive minded? How do you think Phil Neville approaches this?
If, in my opinion, the one and only Bryce Duke, I think Bryce Duke should come back into the game, or Robert Taylor play in that position. We have seen Robert Taylor play in that position that Pozuelo's playing, but I think he will go with Bryce Duke again. Bryce Duke. I would like to see Bryce Duke starting again.
So, but do you play him in the hole in the 4-2-3-1? Do you go 4-3-3? What do you think? Well, what do you think Phil Neville does? I'm not saying what Miguel does, but what does Phil Neville do? In Miguel's opinion.
I mean, it's like you never know with Phil Neville, to be honest. He's a tough coach to, predecir, like what he's gonna do.
Right. So you're saying he's a tough to predict.
Yeah, tough to predict. Yes, he's a tough to predict coach. To be honest, I don't know because it's a tough game for Inter Miami. I
have some inside information. I have some inside information I'm going to share.
Oh, okay, go ahead. Dun, dun, dun. Exclusiva.
I have heard quite a bit about the traveling roster that Inter Miami is taking to Columbus. George Acosta is on that team, or is on that roster.
Interesting.
And to me, if George Acosta is on the roster, who's a more attack-minded 8, but played as a 10 at times, when he was playing for the MLS Next Pro side last year, that to me says he wants another attack option on the bench, which means to me he'll have an attack option in the lineup. So I think Phil Neville is going to stay. I'm not saying gung-ho, but I do think he'll stay relatively attack-minded. I don't think he's going to put Inter Miami into a defensive shell just because Pozuelo's not there. I could be wrong.
So 4-2-3-1 for you.
It could be a 4-2-3-1 or it could be a 4-3-3. I don't know the formation. I just think if Acosta's traveling, that means that we're going to see Bryce Duke probably in the lineup. That's just what I think. And I could even see, like you said, Robert Taylor back in there as well. Maybe for Ariel Lassiter, maybe for Indiana Vasilev. I do think we'll see a more technical team on Wednesday night than we did against the Red Bulls. Even though Inter Miami, again, played well for those first 29 minutes with the personnel it had, and they knocked the ball around well. Thought it was among the most impressive stretches of play that they've had this season. Shame for them that, Pozuelo got that red card and they couldn't sustain it as a result because they were playing very, very well. Very well.
Yeah. You also have to see, he didn't rule out Iguain, but you also have to see if Iguain is available to play.
I think he's going, man. I think he's playing.
Then, if Iguain is not playing, who's going to play in the position for Iguain? Coco?
That's a good one. That's a good shout. Because if Iguain doesn't play, let's go with the scenario like you just said, the hypothetical. Iguain does not play. Yeah. Now you're missing your two most dangerous attackers, Iguain and Pozuelo. Now you don't really have a true number 9, except for Coco, who said he prefers to play there. Yeah. But we don't really know his characteristics all that well and how he fits into Inter Miami's system. But that's an option. Emerson Rodriguez could be another option, although he's not the best finisher, but he does have the pace to stretch a defense. Ariel Lassiter is another option, although that's not his preferred position, and he's also not the most ruthless in the final third. Coco could be a good shout. Coco could be a very good shout if Iguain can't go. But I do think Iguain plays. And I don't have inside information as to that. I just think sometimes I think Phil Neville exaggerates a little bit. And I think I felt like he was exaggerating a little bit in terms of like how bad Iguain was for Wednesday. So I think Iguain plays. Especially with the situation that they're in. You know, they're still fighting for their playoff lives. I think he plays. So we'll see. We'll see. I can't tell you this. I can tell you this. This is inside information. Iguain did not practice on Monday. But again, I don't think he'll be ruled out.
Okay.
We'll see. Miguel, Columbus is 8 wins, 12 ties, 12, and 6 losses on the season. At home, they have a record of 5 wins, 4 draws, and 4 losses. So they're not unbeatable.
Correct.
Inter Miami could beat them. And if they had Pozuelo, I think they would have a much better chance. Obviously, that's not rocket science.
They don't. Yeah.
But they don't. Let's assume Higuain's in there. What does Inter Miami have to do to get a win against this Columbus team? What is the key to the game for you?
I mean, is that this whole team's changed around Pozuelo, to be honest. Like, because if you don't have Pozuelo there, who's going to create for this Inter Miami team? Pozuelo is basically the creator of this team. 90% of the balls have to go through Pozuelo, and he's not there. Who's going to create? Bryce Duke, but we have seen Bryce Duke form go down a little bit since the beginning of the season. We have seen Robert Taylor form go down as well. Lassiter has been playing pretty good the last couple of games. I'm just really worried about this Inter Miami team away from home, because if this game was at home, I would have been. They definitely have a shot, but away from home, it's gonna be tough. They have to attack though. They have to attack Columbus if they want to take at least a point away from Columbus.
What do they have to do to give themselves the best chance? You think attack? That's the key to the game. Attack.
Absolutely, because they're not that great at defending. So I think attacking Columbus, they have a shot to win this game.
Okay, so it's not keeping possession. It's not limiting Columbus by having more of the ball and controlling.
Well, if you attack, you have to keep.
Not necessarily. No, that's not true.
Keep possession.
No, that's not true, because you can
unless you want to play counterattack.
No, because you can be a very direct team. You can be a very direct team and attack, but you don't necessarily care for possession. Look, Columbus under Caleb Porter is his style. It's his style when he was with the Portland Timbers. It's just his style as a coach. He likes to have possession. That's what he likes. And obviously they have Darlington Dagby in there, so they're a team that will try to dictate the tempo, especially at home.
At home, yeah.
So, for me, if you're Inter Miami, the key to the game is not necessarily going toe for toe with them, although I do think Inter Miami needs to attack. But I think, well, there's 2 things, but I'll say what I think is most important is stopping that midfield from feeding Cucho Hernandez. Because if Hernandez gets steady service against an Inter Miami team that looks to come out and play a little bit, well, there's going to be spaces for him to potentially capitalize on. And I would bet on him capitalizing on them if he gets those chances, because he's been in pretty good form since he's joined the Columbus Crew in the midseason. The Colombian striker has been scoring goals for the team. So that to me is the key to the game. Not necessarily, you're not going to necessarily boss possession or dictate the tempo, but don't let that midfield and don't let that build up find Cucho Hernandez. Make sure you keep him neutralized as much as possible. That requires organization, that requires communication, that requires concentration. Again, and I don't want that to come off as I'm saying Inter Miami needs to be defensive minded, because I do think they need to come out and play a bit. I don't think just being defensive minded and looking to hit on the counter is going to work. I mean, maybe that's the game plan if Iguain can't play. But if he can, and they can attack a little bit, they can attack this team, Columbus, especially with the way that the Inter Miami's been playing, even though, again, Pozuelo's out. But you have to be good at the back. You have to be good at the back. You have to be tight. Don't let Cucho Hernandez beat you. Let somebody else beat you. Force somebody else on Columbus besides Cucho Hernandez to beat you. But don't let that midfield find him. Don't let that midfield nourish
Control
him.
the game for you,
Don't,
yeah.
Right. Don't let them control the game. Hey, listen, Columbus wants possession. Okay. You can live with that, especially without Pozuelo. But don't let that midfield nourish or feed Cucho Hernandez early and often, because if they do, then I think Inter Miami's in trouble. Last question for you, and we'll wrap up this segment. Miguel, what happens on Wednesday night? I want a prediction, a Paz prediction. Does Inter Miami win? Does Inter Miami lose? Or does Inter Miami tie?
Oh, Franco, last time Inter Miami played Columbus away from home, they lost 4-0. Not good, right?
Two different teams, man. Two different teams. I can't compare last year's result to this year's result. That's not that for me. That's not an argument to be like, oh well, Inter Miami struggled last year, so they're going to struggle this year. That I don't think that necessarily means that. Doesn't necessarily mean that they won't struggle either. But I don't put those two together. But anyway, continue. What do you think happens on Wednesday night?
No Pozuelo. That's huge for Inter Miami. They're not that good playing away from home. That's something that worries me a lot about this team, especially going into the playoff if they make it. I think Columbus is gonna take this was probably 1-0 or 2-1.
So Columbus wins.
Columbus wins, yeah. How about you? What's your prediction?
It's tough, man. It's tough because Columbus, while they have their strengths, like any team has their strengths,
Yeah.
they also have weaknesses that I think Inter Miami can exploit, especially if Inter Miami can play as it has been playing in terms of the attack. Now, Pozuelo is a massive loss. And if Iguain's not there, he's also a big loss because now they really have no proven striker option. So it gets very challenging and very tricky there. But again, I reiterate, and I'll repeat again, think Iguain plays. I could see any result out of these in this game. I could see Miami winning. I could see them tying. I could see them losing. It wouldn't
surprise me at all if Miami wins, by the way.
I don't know about that. You were just criticizing them for how terrible their away form is, and it has been terrible. But based on the way you said it, I would be surprised if you think that they could win. You specifically. So I will say Inter Miami ties this game.
Ties.
They get
it took a long time.
I wanted to make sure. I wanted to make sure of my prediction because once it's out there, it's out there. I think they tie this game. I think they find a way to get a point.
With goals or no goals?
1-1. I don't think it'll be very high scoring. And again, if Columbus starts scoring goals and you have to go blow for them at home, I think that's a pretty tough task. So 1-1. 1-1. Again, I think Inter Miami will attack. I don't think they're going to sit back and try to park the bus. But I think they could be a little bit more cautious. They could drop the lines a little bit. But also still look to, in moments, knock the ball around and try to play. We'll see what personnel is available. We'll see how Phil Neville approaches it. It's another big game in terms of his game plan. Look, kudos to him because the game plan against the Red Bulls in the first 30 minutes and something we talked about but we didn't mention in terms of his game plan. The game plan worked really well. The players looked very confident. So that's a testament to the work he and his staff have been doing and how much this team is buying in and how much they've been enjoying playing this more attack-minded style.
Yeah.
Now it's another big game where he has to get the game plan right without Pozuelo. If he does, Inter Miami stands a better chance at winning. If he doesn't, and Inter Miami comes out of the gate struggling in this one, and we see them revert to form or revert back to the median or revert back to what they were earlier in the year when they were giving up goals early and they were always falling behind, then that presents an uphill climb. And, that's going to make things tough, especially since there's pressure on both teams. But Inter Miami will feel it a bit if obviously they go down early. So let's see how it goes for them.
If Inter Miami gets the 3 points, I believe this is going to be the most important 3 points they've gotten the whole season. Why? Because they're coming from a loss, so they definitely need to win the next game. 2, they don't have their best player playing. and 3 they're away from home, which they haven't been that good. So I think winning Columbus is gonna be huge for Inter Miami if they do.
And this is the last game that they play for a week and a half because remember the Orlando City game that was scheduled for this coming weekend was moved. It was moved until moved until October. So the next game for Inter Miami will be on September 10th. That is in 2 weekends from now, and that's against the Chicago Fire on the road. So go into a little bit of a break, on a high as opposed to feeling like you've had 2 losses or two letdowns. Again, a draw's good enough. It's not a win. It's not going to separate you from the pack or push you up the table necessarily, but it keeps you in the fight. And in these difficult circumstances, I think that's more than enough, given that there's still 6 games left to go in the year afterwards. So, all right, Miguel, let's leave it there. We've talked a good bit. Let's take a quick break. We'll come back. We'll do a very brief Q&A session, and we'll wrap up the pod after that. So let's do that after this. Okay, Miguel, Q&A time. Let's make it quick because, again, it's a short turnaround between when this pod drops and when Inter Miami plays the Columbus Crew on Wednesday. So we'll do one, and we'll repeat from last week, Eric Yanis, no relation to Andrea Yanis, a.k.a. Ajicita, who, hey, by the way, Eric, shout out to you again because I know you went to the game on Saturday. I hope you had a good time despite the result, given that you're an Inter Miami fan. Now, Eric asks, or he says, I feel the play by Pozuelo was reckless considering the lead and momentum that was in Inter Miami's favor at that time. There's such a different team in the attack. When will Campana play again? And Bryce Duke should have came in at the start of the second half, a spark plug on the field. Miguel.
So you take the Campana one.
Well, Campana's still working his way back from injury. We don't know exactly when he'll be ready. Although Phil Neville has said he's making tremendous progress, but I still think he's at least, just me, this is my sensation and not information. I still think he's at least a few weeks away. Chicago, if he was ready for Chicago on September 10th, I think that would be incredible, and that would be best case scenario. But I think it could be a little bit longer than that. We'll see.
Yeah.
As for should Bryce Duke, he thinks Bryce Duke should have come in at the start of the second half. I mean, there was a point where I was like, all right, maybe Phil Neville looks for more possession by bringing in Bryce Duke. But obviously the injury to Iguain maybe forced his hand or took him away from thinking that way and having to be a little bit more defensive-minded and looking for the counterattack. It's a possibility. Because I did think that bringing in Duke to try to give that midfield and that team a little bit more composure and calmness on the ball to defend con la pelota, with the ball, by having it, not taking some sting out of the Red Bulls' momentum. I thought that was one way to go about it. But obviously, you lose some defense by bringing in Duke, right? Like the team loses some defending in that way, but you keep the ball better. So, I thought that was a possibility, but obviously if Iguain couldn't go anymore, then that just changed everything. So, anything you want to add there, Miguel?
No, I agree with you. I thought the same thing as well watching the game. Bryce Duke would have made sense if you want to keep a little bit more possession of the ball. But then who else are you going to take out? Gregory Mota? Not really. And then the only 2 options you have is Vasilev and Lassiter on the wing. And then, Bryce Duke on the wing is not a good option. He doesn't come... Yeah, he's not the best at defending. Let's just say that.
Miguel, actually, I'm gonna add a Q to the Q&A. And I'm going to ask you something I didn't ask you in the preview. What lineup would Miguel Paz, what lineup would Michael Peace go with on Wednesday? I want the whole thing from back to front and formation included.
Okay, so I'll go with the 4-2-3-1.
Okay.
Again. I'll go with Yedlin, Damian Lowe, Ryan Saylor, and McVeigh as a left back. Gregory Mota. I'll go with Lassiter, Robert Taylor, Bryce Duke, and obviously Gonzalo if he's 100% healthy.
So where's Bryce Duke playing? Is he on the wing or is he at the 10?
No, as a number 10 behind Gonzalo.
So Taylor's on the wing.
Yeah, Taylor's on the right wing. Yeah.
Okay. I don't hate that. Interesting that you went with Saylor at center back over McVay at center back, and that means bringing in Gibbs at left back. But
I put McVay as a left back.
No, right. I understand. I'm just saying, the decision was there either between. Sorry, I should have said it better. The decision there was either between Gibbs at left back or Saylor at center back, and you went with Saylor at center back, thus pushing McVay out to the left back. So interesting, and it's definitely something I think Phil Neville could do if he wants to shore up the center while also trying to be solid on the left side or on the left flank. I think that will tell us. That will tell us a lot about the game plan. Because if you see Kieran Gibbs at left back, I think that means, look, they're going to look to attack in moments, right? Because you have a marauding left back. Now, if he goes with Christopher McVay at left back and Ryan Saylor, for example, at center back next to Damian Lowe, then clearly there's more of a focus on, well, the left back not getting forward so much, being a little bit more defensively tight, and having another center back, so you have three in that back four, to try to help deal with Cucho Hernandez. So that decision, to me, obviously with the rest of the lineup that we'll see, but I think more or less there won't be any real surprises. I think that will tell us quite a bit about what Phil Neville is planning. So when we see the lineup an hour before, even though Inter Miami's...
I'll text you.
Even though Inter Miami's graphic designer loves putting out formations and looks, probably by instruction though, so to be fair to the graphic designer, but given that they like to put formations and graphics out there that don't necessarily resemble what we see, scratch that, don't mind that, but just look for who's playing left back for Inter Miami. Because if it's Gibbs, expect Inter Miami to come out and look to play a bit, like they did against the Red Bulls, or a lot bit. But I think they'll be moderate or smart in how they go about it. But if it's McVay, expect Inter Miami to be a little bit more defensive minded. That does not mean that they won't attack at all. But just, I think that'll tell us either whether they're focusing a little bit more on the attack, focusing a little bit more on the defense. We'll see.
Do you agree with my starting 11?
So are you asking me what I would do, or are you asking me what I think Phil Neville does? Because that's a different question.
Do you agree with my starting 11, or will you switch someone else?
Okay, so I would go Calendar, Yedlin, Lowe. What I would do? McVay, Gibbs. That's what I would do. And then Gregory, Mota, Duke, Iguain up top, and your wingers, Taylor on the right, Lassiter on the left. 4-3-3. 4-3-3. I wouldn't give Duke just outright the 10 role or the responsibilities of a 10, because he's not necessarily just a straight out and out 10. He has elements of that in his game, but he's not just an out and out 10. I think he's better in a 4-3-3 where he can drop a little bit deeper and operate and help link play a little bit more from back to front, as opposed to being the string puller or the attacking orchestrator. So 4-3-3, that's what I would go with. I think Phil Neville goes more along the lines with something like you mentioned, Saylor and McVay at the back next to Lowe and Yedlin. I think Mota and Gregory obviously both start. Again, Iguain's a question mark, but I think he plays. And then I think we'll see... I definitely think Taylor's coming back into the lineup 100%. It's rare that he's not in the lineup. It was, the fact that he wasn't on against the Red Bulls was a bit of a surprise. And I think Lassiter, even though he didn't have his best game against the Red Bulls, I think he's a step above Vasilev. So I think Lassiter and his pace is more threatening than Vasilev. So I think Taylor and Taylor and Lassiter get the starts. And again, Duke will play in that midfield as well. So we'll see. We'll see how Phil Neville approaches it. But I'm pretty confident. I think that, especially given the fact that, like I heard from sources, George Acosta is traveling. So that's a note. All right. So let's leave it there for the Q&A session. Miguel, to wrap up the show, give me your final thoughts, and then I'll give mine, and we'll wrap up the show after that. And look, it doesn't have to be about soccer. It doesn't have to be about football. It can be about anything you want. It could be about Honduras playing Argentina in that friendly at Hard Rock Stadium at the end of September. It could be about Bad Bunny winning the VMA Artist of the Year award. Whatever you want. Don't feel like it's.
I don't know if you've seen the Adidas dropping all the kids for the World Cup.
Yes, I have. I've seen some of them.
Which one's your favorite one out of all of them?
My favorite? Oh, man. I could have told you my least favorite. My favorite.
Okay, your least favorite and your favorite one.
Argentina's is horrific, man.
The away one?
Yes.
Oh, my God.
We have such different taste, clearly. Dude,
for real.
Argentina does not wear purple. Argentina wears baby blue, traditionally, and their away jersey is traditionally navy blue. They do not wear purple. And, Inter Miami fans that obviously dislike Orlando City that are listening to the pod, they'll be like, yeah, hell yeah, Franco, no purple. But it has nothing to do with that. It just has to do with Argentina does not wear purple. And what is it? Was that flames coming out of the bottom of the jersey? Like purple flames on top of a purple jersey? It just looks like clip art made in the late 1990s for me. I think it's terrible.
Right.
Argentina's jerseys are meant to be classy and classic, and I don't think that fire, that hideousness from the fire is like, it'll long be forgotten, I think, because oh my goodness, that thing is terrible. Unless Argentina wins the World Cup in that jersey, then it'll be revered as one of the best in their history, maybe. But other than that, get rid of that thing. I can't believe someone got paid millions and millions of dollars to design that. But anyway, my favorite one. You tell me. I'm gonna look at them really quickly while you tell me your favorite and your least favorite. I gotta go through them.
My favorite one. I'm going between Germany and Mexico one.
Which Mexico one?
They're really classy. The Mexico, the home one, and then the Germany, the home one as well, the white one.
Okay, those are your two favorites.
And then my least favorite one was the one from Belgium. I don't know if you ever wore that shirt that used to have like flames coming out from the bottom. I used to have that when I was like a little kid. And that's just bad. I don't like it at all.
Okay, well, let's see. I'm looking at them right now. Belgium does have flames on the sleeves, yeah. Very
it looks like Hot Wheels, man.
Yeah, it looks like Hot Wheels, very like 1990 Hot Rod.
Yeah.
You could even do it looks like some 1990s wrestling like attire. Yeah, definitely not the best look. Bosnia and Herzegovina's home jersey, not bad. I'm not really into this all abstract art that's become modern for football jerseys, like where there's all these designs on the body just to make it look busier and not make it look so plain. I'm not a huge fan of that. But this one with the different lines and the different patterns, I think it looks pretty nice. It's blue on white. I think it's a pretty good looking jersey.
Yeah.
My favorite out of the bunch, I do like Mexico's home jersey because they've returned back to their roots, back to their traditional look, which we haven't seen them don in a long, long time. I don't know if it's my favorite. Correct. I don't know if it's my favorite.
And for me to say Mexico is my favorite one is really tough. By the way, I'm Honduran, so we got like a rivalry there,
Of course, but like. And I'm not saying it's my favorite one, but just the fact that they've gone back to their traditional historic look, I think that's certainly a good sign. As you can tell, I'm a bit of a traditionalist, so yeah, I like that. Anything else? I mean, Argentina's, you can never really go wrong with Argentina's home jersey, although again, that away jersey is a big no for me.
Do you like the Peru one? I'm just kidding.
That is the last time you will hear Miguel Paz's voice on Miami Total Football Radio, ladies and gentlemen. His second appearance, and he's already taking shots at Peru. Goodness gracious. No, I'm just kidding. There is no censorship here. Anyway, my final thought will be on something that relates to jerseys. So we'll stay on the same tune. And I do like talking about jerseys. So, Steven Primo Brenner hates talking about jerseys. Like, it's his least favorite thing to do, or one of his least favorite things to do. Like, he's not into the whole, like, football, soccer, jersey culture thing. But I am. And I will share this with you listeners. I have heard from sources that next year's jersey, the secondary kit, will be, once again, black and pink. Now, that might not be huge news to you, but it is what I've heard about what the kit will look like. I don't have exact details on the design. I don't know if it will have a lot of pink or a lot more pink than La Palma did, but I've been told that the color scheme will be, again, predominantly black with pink. So not white and pink, not gray and pink, not black on black. I've heard it's going to be black and pink, similar to La Palma, but I don't know what the actual jersey looks like. That's what I've heard the color scheme will be. And last year, I did report here on Miami Total Futbol Radio that Inter Miami would have a pink jersey in 2022, and that came to fruition. So, maybe that doesn't fill you with joy, but let's wait till we see how it looks before we really cast judgment. But the color scheme will be more or less the same as it's been historically from Inter Miami's short history. So that does it for this week's show. I did say early on that we'd be back later on this week to recap the game against the Columbus Crew, but maybe we don't come back until early next week because the next game against the Chicago Fire is so far away. I still have to make a decision on that. If we do, well, I will let you guys know on social media, of course. So, for Miguel Paz, a.k.a. Michael Peace, I am Franco Panizo. You have been listening to Miami Total Futbol Radio, and we'll talk to you guys again soon-ish.